Richard Sherman continues to dominate headlines with the certain antics he pulls in press conferences, which is a negative way to put it. It really is a positive way to put it, and his column that comes out weekly from the Players Tribune. We'll start with the lighthearted in honor of Halloween, and we'll get onto the serious in the back half of the clip. The lighthearted was this press conference, which occurred on Wednesday. In the spirit of Halloween, Richard Sherman came out dressed up in full Harry Potter Gryffindor swag. Take a look.
Yes, you got to bring your own music. You know, this is a serious occasion. It's Halloween. You know, my son told me he wanted me to wear something, so it's happening. It's happening.
What's he gonna be?
I can't give away his secrets. He told me to take it to my grave, so that's what I'm gonna do.
What was your second choice for an outfit?
This was my first and second. I had a little bit more to get up, but you know, it is what it is.
What's harder, Quidditch or five quarters of football?
5 quarters of football is pretty tough, but Quidditch, you know, the beaters, the chasers, you know, trying to find the golden snitch, things like that, that's tough. 5 quarters of football, though, in the elements, I'd say that'd take cake.
So following Sunday Night Football's riveting 6-6 tie between the Seahawks and the Cardinals, something that we haven't seen in a while. More punts than points, going to keep saying it through that to the end of the year. 15 punts, 12 points, all from Barry Pachesky. Still, he gets the credit. Maybe he'll give a retweet for this because we've mentioned him now 3 times this week. Regardless, it was a grueling game. Richard Sherman played 90 snaps. The Seahawks defense did allow over 400 total yards of offense, but they kept Arizona out of the end zone, and much credit to Arizona's defense as well too, because they held Russell Wilson to nothing. However, it is important to note that the Seahawks defense this year is as good, if not better, in every category save for turnovers per game or forced takeaways from the defensive angle than they were in 2013. Yes, that 2013 Seattle Seahawks defense, that petrifying defense that ran away with the Super Bowl. So if they had an offensive line and they can get some semblance of offense, which I've told Ben Mank on Monday on Turks and Jerks, which, again, is a big, big if, as Ben put it, they are far and away the best team in the NFC. But, all things considered, Richard Sherman's coming out dressed in the Gryffindor thing. He's fun, he's well-spoken, he made some funny jokes about it. It seems like after the grueling Sunday night game, a couple days later, he looked like he was in high spirits. However, if you were to read Richard Sherman's Tuesday article in the Players Tribune, which I would encourage every NFL fan to read weekly, whether you agree with it or not, the Players Tribune leaves an important space for the actual players' voices to be heard. And yes, the Derek Jeter co-founded blog style page does put out a lot of content that isn't as politically spoken as Richard Sherman is. The ones that Sherman talks about week in and week out are not just Richard Sherman rips the NFL. And I know my own headline says, and I believe I'm headlining it as I'm writing it right now and doing it for the camera as we speak. This is like almost like a Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Charlie Kaufman-esque way of doing this. However, it's going to read Richard Sherman dresses up as Harry Potter, you know, comma, or whatever we call him a pipe. Richard Sherman goes on to rip Roger Goodell once again, because he did, but he raises some good points. So I'm going to read you some quotes from the article on October 27th titled Common Sense. Quote, Antonio Brown can't twerk after a touchdown because it's sexually suggestive, but every Sunday on most sidelines there are rows of cheerleaders doing the same types of moves to entertain the crowd. The NFL doesn't want to do anything that might set a bad example for the kids in the audience, such as showboat or celebrate excessively. Yet it features beer ads in all of its stadiums and in almost every commercial break. Josh Norman can't shoot an imaginary bow and arrow after a big pick because the NFL says that it depicts a violent act. Meanwhile, the name of the team he plays for depicts Native Americans in a way that many people consider offensive. He's just pointing out hypocrisies in that column right there. Later on in the piece, quote, we're already seeing a bit of that. TV ratings are down, and I think that we can point to the NFL's legislating the emotion out of the game as a contributing factor. The NFL is enforcing a policy against celebration, against joy, against fun. It's something I know a lot of players are frustrated with, and appears that fans may be as well. He finishes up with his attack on Goodell. Part of the problem is that players are being told to, quote, act like they've been there. by a group of people who have never been there themselves. Roger Goodell chief among them. I also think one of the things that needs to happen is for Goodell to give up some of his power. He's not an all-seeing, all-knowing, all-powerful being. He's human, and I think he needs to keep dealing with the issues facing the league, from unsportsmanlike conduct to domestic violence. Roger Goodell, it seems like, has made every wrong decision when it comes to handling certain situations in the NFL. But the one thing to keep in the back of our minds at all times, that if Roger Goodell was such a bad commissioner, especially in terms of profits, the owners would have unanimously voted him out a long, long time ago. It's not going to take bad handlings of domestic violence situations and unsportsmanlike conduct penalties to have a rip-roaring overreaction to the fact that the owners are going to say, you know what, we got to get rid of Goodell. Goodell is making them money, and unfortunately, like many aspects of this country, money is the root of sometimes all of the evil. In this case, if you want to consider Roger Goodell evil, and yes, I believe Roger Goodell should go, or at least cut some of the power that Richard Sherman was talking about, then yes, that's the reason that he's going to stay in place. However, they seem to be after their best interest, which for some, not all, can't speak for everybody, is the monetary value associated with their teams and how much money the NFL is making. Just recently, we did a clip on the channel with Francis and myself, talking about how the progressive NBA, Adam Silver, and how he handles this hands-off approach on certain aspects of the game, like celebrating, social media control, those kind of things, and his quick, swift action on other things, for example, Donald Sterling, which he was thrown a curveball immediately becoming commissioner. It was only a couple weeks later that he said to the rest of the league, Donald Sterling is banned from basketball. And that's the kind of action that it seems like people want to see out of more of Roger Goodell. If you're going to say something about domestic violence policy and then not sit by it and stand by it, and then time after time we keep seeing more surfacing reports of other instances, if you're going to take the domestic violence and the unsportsmanlike conduct as the two issues that are glaring Roger Goodell in the face right now, and I can't stress this enough, they are literally the most apples to oranges comparison in all of apples to orange arguments. They're not even apples to oranges because those are somewhat circular. They're apples to watermelons. Regardless, if they want to see Roger Goodell have more swift action, at least it has to come backed by a policy that's in place. And Sherman talks a little bit about that in his column as well. So there is your news on Richard Sherman. One day he's Harry Potter, the same day he's ripping Roger Goodell for his policy and what's going on in the NFL. I think you'd have to be crazy to not at least look and somewhat agree with Sherman's points. We know the NFL is the no-fun league, but it's going to stay the no-fun league unless the owners get together and do something about it, because we do need more of an Adam Silver in charge of the NFL, more so than we need a Roger Goodell. One league is skyrocketing towards the top of people's interest in sports in America. The other league is staying in the headlines for all the wrong reasons. Comment below, let me know what you think about Richard Sherman. You can follow me over on Twitter at JasonRuben91, the same for Instagram. TYT Sports is over on Twitter, Facebook, we're on YouTube, Pluto TV. Our podcast is on TuneIn. Make sure to check out all that good stuff. It's packed in the description box below, and we'll see you next time.